Let's understand the users, the customers that the automation should be serving. First is the sales ops slash business ops, the people who will actually do the work on the ground. Second is the finance. When the sale is going through and the money hits the bank, how do you reconcile those charges and have a very fine grained, detailed control on the finances? Third is engineering. Also, product falls in the same bucket, but lots of engineering and product interaction needs to happen. I know there's API integrations, there's integrations in your Salesforce, in your revenue recognition system if you have one. Perhaps you have something in spreadsheet that data needs to be dumped in. So engineering is a key stakeholder along with product. AEs, your field sellers, are the most critical piece of the equation. If whatever system that you put in is not adopted by your sales team, nothing else matters. These are the people who are right there at the front of the line and they are selling your software and selling your product. They need to understand that cloud marketplaces is a viable and a potentially lucrative channel and a channel that they take the deal from to make it go faster and bigger. If you take one thing away from this entire presentation today, like the key customer on the other side is your field sellers. Partnerships is a very key element of the puzzle as well. Partnerships and alliance leaders are often tasked with figuring this whole thing out.
Learn how to master cloud marketplaces in just 5 weeks with our cohort course. Accelerate your growth by tapping into the $300+ billion cloud spend that enterprises have committed to AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. Discover the future of go-to-market with Roman. During 10 weekly sessions, you'll learn how to leverage this fast-growing channel and network with top industry experts and partnership leaders. We will dive into marketplace strategies, internal buy-in, building relationships with the cloud, and mastering co-sell. Join our upcoming cohort.
Hello, everyone, again. So I'm really excited to have today CEO of Clazar. And Clazar is one of those companies that are helping others to integrate with cloud marketplaces. Trunal has incredible experience. He's been director of engineering in Confluent and previously in Airbnb. So in Confluent, specifically, he was focusing on integration with cloud platforms. So he knows pain point from his own experience. So I'm really excited to hear from him.
Let me share a little bit about what my experience at Confluent was. What I led is three things. One was the marketplace, which is listing management, private offers, contracts. There were a bunch of teams in my org that managed the entire thing. The other thing was billing, which is billing for all channels, billing infrastructure, invoicing, payment collection, all the good stuff. And last but not the least was the PLG slash free trial, which is, customers coming directly on the website. We had the growth engine to help convert those customers. And all of these things were quite intertwined at Confluent and they at other companies as well, where your customers will start going from one channel to the other. And you need to make sure to have the right set of support systems in place in terms of engineering to make sure your customers are getting a top-notch experience. How it worked is the following. There's these GTM teams, the field sellers, sales ops, rev ops. They needed usage-based billing, real-time reporting. And on the engineering side, we had the marketplace team set up, the billing team set up, and there was a specific structure. And we eventually operated at a very high scale. And that scale meant we needed sophisticated structures and custom integrations into different platforms, which is what eventually has helped me understand the entire mechanics of marketplaces and what we'll share today. What does succeeding on cloud marketplaces look like? And we've developed this playbook over the years, which I'm going to share today, is it looks like the following. There's a myth out there in the industry, folks, where people feel like if I just got listed on marketplace, the leads are going to start flowing in. That is very far away from what the truth is. Marketplaces and the Cloud GTM is a similar channel like any other GTM channel, like marketing, outbound, inbound, and all of the others. I personally do not expect if I put up a marketing website out there that leads to start coming on day one. I do know that when I do put up the marketing website, there's a whole bunch of other support systems that I have to do. For example, I have to also put in the driving traffic towards it. I have to do SEO, SEM, all of the other things. Cloud marketplaces is similar. Getting listed on the cloud marketplaces is only the step one of it. But as you start on that journey, there's a path that you have to follow in order to be successful and have a very successful cloud marketplace strategy. Of course, it starts with having a plan, getting listed, aligning sales, which is what we'll talk about today a little bit, having a better together story, sharing opportunities, co-market, and then having your sales team aligned with the hyperscaler sales team, and eventually going on to the multi-cloud strategy. Now, let's assume that you are on this path. The one thing that you need that enables you to traverse this path is a hypothetical bike, right? Assume that if this bike is what's going to take you along that path very smoothly. There's two very critical components of this bike. First is the GTM. And we're going to call it the one wheel of this bike. Second is the automation, which is what we're going to be focused on today. And both of these things need to work hand in hand. The GTM side of the house needs to understand what automations available, how to make it work, how to make use of it. The automation side of the house needs to understand deeply what are the pain points on the GTM side that the automation can actually solve. So it's a very tightly knit collaboration on both the sides. Yet these two things live on two different sides of the spectrum in many organizations. In reality, this is the bike that you want to build. But what I have seen in practice is you end up building something like this because there are so many different aspects to cloud marketplaces, the co-sell, the opportunity sharing, the connection between A's, the alliance leaders, all of that. Eventually you start stitching together different systems and hope that it works. And that is something that I would love for anyone who's starting today to make a note of and go down a path that gets you down a scalable system that can help you along the way as you grow in the ecosystem. So what does winning with automation look like? Before we talk about automation, let's understand the users, the customers that the automation should be serving. So in the cloud ecosystems, the cloud marketplaces ecosystem, there's various stakeholders. First is the sales ops slash business ops, the people who will actually do the work on the ground. Second is the finance. When the sale is going through and the money hits the bank, how do you reconcile those charges and have a very fine grained detailed control on the finances? Third is engineering, because there's lots of engineering and also product falls in the same bucket, but lots of engineering and product interaction needs to happen. I know there's API integrations, there's integrations in your Salesforce, in your revenue recognition system if you have one. Perhaps you have something in spreadsheet that data needs to be dumped in. So engineering is a key stakeholder along with product. AEs, your field sellers, are the most critical piece of the equation. If whatever system that you put in is not adopted by your sales team, nothing else matters. These are the people who are right there at the front of the line and they are selling your software and selling your product. They need to understand that cloud marketplaces is a viable and a potentially lucrative channel, and a channel that can they take the deal from to make it go faster and bigger. If you take one thing away from this entire presentation today, like the key customer on the other side is your field sellers. Partnerships is a very key element of the puzzle as well. Partnerships and alliance leaders are often tasked with figuring this whole thing out, and they are the ones who are riding this entire bike, the one that I showed on the previous slide. So they are a critical piece of the equation as well. Now, when you think about what does automation look like, here's the actual engineering integrations that you need to be able to start your cloud marketplace journey. And this is on AWS. And there's a 300 or 400 page, very well documented and written seller's guide that you can go through. Similarly on Azure and similarly on GCP as well. Now, if when you think about automation, there's different parts of it. Like we first saw who are our customers. Now let's break it down by different phases. So the first phase is the listing, which is getting listed, listing management. And this is like the step one or step zero of the process. And why do you need to do it is because the eventual customers who are the partnership leaders or the marketing leaders or even the product leaders who are going to be interacting with this system a lot to be able to keep your listing on the marketplaces in sync with what the product team is building and where the company is headed. So this is a very critical piece of the puzzle. What you need to have is a very easy way for your customers, which is the marketing and the product teams, to be able to preview the changes and being able to go through and make easy changes and come out. Like if your users, which is internal users of partnerships and product, if they are not able to do that, they will not do the changes and the whole thing falls on again. Now on the AWS side, there is no preview as such. There is preview on Microsoft side, and GCP allows for a preview. Um, what I would recommend is build a system that can easily show this preview changes internally so your team can move faster. So that's one. Or for Clazar, we have this built where we have the multi-listing, multi-cloud, single source of truth, all built under one roof. You could replicate something internally on a if you want to invest your own engineering resources as well. Now, the second piece is automation in pre-sales. And what do I mean by pre-sales? Pre-sales is like the entire co-sell motion where opportunities are uploaded, they're kept in sync. Your sales A team is strategizing with the hyperscalers A team. They're figuring out and how to close this deal. And eventually that culminates into creation of what's called a private offer, which is a custom contract for the customer. So the potential customers for this flow is A's and the partnership leaders as well. There's many companies that they have a different flow for how this is achieved. Some companies have it where the AEs do it directly. Some companies have a dedicated sales ops team. Some companies just have the alliance leader manage the workflow. It just depends on what journey, what phase of the journey you are at to be able to implement such a system. Now, in order for this specific automation to be successful, the key to this success story is the simplification of private offers. AEs or anyone who want a consistent interface across all three. They want a fast turnaround time. So like it shouldn't be where you submit a request and if it's a manual process, then it takes like 2 hours for the AEs to get the private offer back. And last but not the least, it needs to integrate really well with the existing systems like Salesforce or HubSpot or any of the other CRMs that we have. We've already seen in the industry that if you ask any of the users to change their workflow, generally it is met with a lot of friction. So as an internal automation tool that you're building, if you can make it so that it's very easy for them to learn and they don't have to go learn some third party interface or third other system, it generally becomes a lot more easy for them to adopt. And I generally tend to follow the 80-20 rule, where 20% of the information is readily available in the systems that they're familiar with. If they want any advanced information out of the system, it's okay for them to ask to go to another system or another interface to extract that information. So this is a key piece of the puzzle as well. CRM and the partner portal sync is also one key piece in the co-sell. The core of co-selling is the CRM and partner portal sync. This is the most important thing that every single one of us needs to make sure is kept in sync. This is how the hyperscalers rate the partnership. This is how the A's on the other side are achieving their quota. So it's a very critical system. Partner portal needs to be updated at all times. And what I would recommend in terms of automation is implementing a bi-directional sync. That way, your team is only working on one system, and the changes are all being automatically propagated to the other system without them having to worry about anything.
When companies start on cloud marketplaces, do they need automation straight away? Like, what's your advice? What is the threshold, and what are the things that they can do sort of themselves first? And what are the things that you would recommend to engage third party?
In order for you to get listed, you kind of need your engineering resources. So it just depends on what stage you're at. Let's say you're an early company, you're 2, 3, 4 engineers. You may decide to not invest your core engineering resources to get listed and start the motion. I think that is where a third party integrator can actually help. Then as you go along and as you start becoming more and more mature, co-sell becomes a very key component of it. At that point in time, initially, I don't think you need to get a third party integrator immediately in the mix. Best is if you can figure out your motion, if you can start uploading a few opportunities, start working with the hyperscalers, and then at some point in time, you're going to need a scale, which is you perhaps have a sales team, you perhaps have a sales ops team, and they're uploading a lot of opportunities. Each opportunity takes maybe 2.5 minutes to upload. Getting an automation either built in-house or go with third party can bring that time down to less than 15 seconds.